Hi, and welcome to our parent support webinar on reading comprehension. I'm Jaime Koo, Parent Engagement Specialist here at the Santa Clara County Office of Education. With me today are Jaime Koo, our Academic Technology Specialist, and Olivia Santillan, our History Social Studies Coordinator. We're just going to give a minute or so for everyone to join in on the call. As we're waiting, would you all introduce yourselves in the chat? On the bottom of your Zoom window, click on the chat icon and a new window will open up for you to type in your response. Tell us your name, your child or children's school district, and for fun, what is the most recent movie you watched? This past weekend, we're watching the CBS Weekend Specials. I think I revisited Forrest Gump, which is one of my all-time favorites. That was a good one.
Yeah, I did. I noticed. I saw the commercial where they're bringing those back. I think the Saturday night movies.
Yeah, something like that.
Trying to think of the most recent movie that I watched. I feel like I don't have time to watch very many movies, but when they did bring Onward out onto Disney Plus, I watched that movie and I really loved it. And then we're starting to get some responses in the chat, so I'm going to go ahead and read them. So Ha Nguyen from Santa Clara Unified School District, and there's Lisa from Moreland, and she watched The Lion King. And Samantha. Any other movies that any of you have watched recently? Oh, and or Samantha says, my kid is from Alum Rock School District.
Well, welcome everyone. Let me go ahead and go over some simple housekeeping items. We're going to mute everyone just to make sure that we eliminate background noise. And at different points in the webinar, we're going to have opportunities for you to chat. So when it's time, go ahead and click on the chat box and the box will open up for you to input your responses. Also, if you would like to speak during the discussion, press on the raise hand icon and we can unmute you during the discussion time. So thank you all for signing on again and introducing yourselves. I'm so excited you're here. I want to welcome you all again to our webinar. If you haven't heard the introductions already, I'm Jaime Koo, the Parent Engagement Specialist, and Jaime Koo is our Academic Technology Specialist, and Olivia Santillan is our History Social Studies Coordinator. I taught middle school English Language Arts for 10 years in Milpitas, and currently I'm the proud mom of 2 girls, ages 13 and 10. So the Parent Engagement Program hosts a parenting workshop series for parents of elementary and secondary students. There are 2 main goals for this workshop series: to promote healthy balance in family life and to give tools for parents to support student success in academic studies. Today's webinar is about reading comprehension. It's the second episode in a 4-part parent webinar series where I will be presenting snippets and highlights from the contents of SCCOE's Parenting Workshop Series. Believe me, friends, this is going to go really fast. And if you want to know more information about our Parenting Workshop Series, feel free to contact me about it afterwards. So here are today's goals. First is we're going to take a look at adapting teacher strategies. How do teachers approach academic content, and how might that work for me at home? The second is adopting teacher mindset. When thinking about learning outcomes, what is the one thing you want your kids to know at the end of the day? And finally, we're going to amplify parent advocacy, which means what barriers do you need to overcome so that you can get what is best for your child? And I will show you some ways that you can get some more support and resources. Okay, so when talking with parents about reading comprehension, the most common concern is, how can I know what each book is about since there's no way I have time to read everything my kids want to read? And the second thought that comes up often is, I'm not an expert in literature. How can I support my kids? Maybe you're here for those reasons today. So let me share something with you. I grew up taking piano lessons and dance classes. So when I had my daughters, I thought it would be great to share with them all the joys and beauty in the arts. But no, my girls ended up being basketball fans. All of a sudden, I was watching Jeremy Lin, Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving, listening to all their plays and all their stats, watching every Warrior game that involved the rival LeBron James. What was going on? Yep, I have baller girls. I had to learn everything I could about sending my kids to the YMCA, learning about kids basketball teams, specifically girls teams, and finding out schedules for competitive league tryouts. Listen, I still can't play the game, but I had to learn the basketball structure and culture well enough to navigate the basketball world to support my girls' love of the game. So likewise, you don't have to know all the details of each and every story. We're going to talk about the general structure of stories so you can support reading comprehension for your kids. I would like all of you to remember this theme: connection through conversation. I will show you what types of questions to ask so you can support reading comprehension. We'll start with understanding the 6 stages of plot, the most common story structure. I will also show you how to analyze character and why that's important. And finally, I will show you how following the hero's journey is meaningful for you and your children. Again, the main takeaway today will be connection through conversation. Okay, so let's get started. Reading comprehension tip number 1, understanding plot. The first thing you should know is that all stories follow the same pattern, the stages of plot. There are 6 steps, 6 stages. Step number 1, exposition. It starts off introducing character, setting, and the basic situation. You can see on the graph there that the conflict starts to add a little bit of rise in the story, where a struggle between opposing forces drive the action of the story. Things get more complicated in the rising action, the portion of the story where this conflict increases, and then it kind of culminates, the story culminates in the climax where the peak of action and conflict happens. You can kind of tell where this happens when the character experiences a change of heart or mind. The story then starts to settle down. You can see the graph starts to fall, the portion of the story where the conflict decreases, and finally the resolution, the outcome of the conflict. I have a link to a handout where all the descriptions are provided for you if you'd like to access it later. Of course, this is just a basic outline. A lot of stories, more complicated stories, have multiple storylines. So here's one of the things that you can do for helping your kids with reading comprehension. SCCOE's Parent Engagement Parenting Workshop Series has a set of open-ended comprehension question cards like this. I have a little thumbnail on the presentation there. But basically, you can go onto our comprehension card link and print them out, cut them out so that you can have these little story cards that you can use with your kids. At different parts of the story, pull one out and work on it with your kids. For example, this card here says, discuss any words that they might not know. This is a great way to talk about vocabulary. At a different part in the story, you might pull out a different card and it might say something like this. Is something inferred in the text? What is it? This means, inferred means that there are lots of clues pointing to a fact that you can conclude, but there's no definite answer offered in the story. You and your child can play detective and name all the clues and then draw a conclusion together. Again, there are 12 different conversation starters for you and your child to help with comprehension. Let's take a look at what the stages of plot looks like. For those of you with older children, forgive my use of green eggs and ham. I needed to find a story that is universal, which all students and all kids can enjoy, and is also short enough to use in today's webinar. So let's take a look at this short read aloud that shows exposition, conflict, and rising action. Olivia, you might have to unmute yourself so that we can hear.
By Dr. Seuss.
There we go.
I am Sam. Sam, I am. That's Sam I am. That's Sam I am. I do not like that Sam I am. Do you like green eggs and ham? I do not like them, Sam I am. I do not like green eggs and ham. Would you like them here or there? I would not like them here or there. I would not like them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am. Would you like them in a house? Would you like them with a mouse?
Thanks. Of course, the rising action continues with Sam desperately trying to convince the character in the black hat to eat green eggs and ham. Lots of different scenarios, no luck. Not in a box, not with a fox, not with a goat, not on a boat. Well, you get the idea. So the next stage of plot is the climax. It's one of the most difficult stages for kids to identify. Again, the climax is defined as the peak of action and conflict, usually where the main character experiences a change of heart or mind. Let's take a look at how the climax plays out in Green Eggs and Ham.
You do not like them, so you say, try them, and you may. Try them, and you may, I say. Sam, if you will let me be, I will try them. You will see. Say, I like green eggs and ham. I do. I like them, Sam I am. And I would eat them in a boat. And I would eat them with a goat.
Did you catch it? Check out this picture. Notice how the ocean wave is at a peak, mirroring the climax in the plot structure map. Additionally, all the animals riding the wave are staring intensely at the character with the black hat. Sam is looking on, hopeful that the character in the black hat will make good on his word to try green eggs and ham. Will he actually do it? So it's intense right here. Will he eat green eggs and ham? It's suspenseful. This is the climax, the moment that the main character experiences a change of heart or mind. So if you could just emphasize one thing with understanding plot of a story, I would help your child understand climax. Really underscore its importance because it helps your child relate to the story. The more they relate, the better they understand what's going on in the story. Here are some conversation starters. What are some changes you see in the main character's heart? Was there ever a time you felt the same way as one of the characters? Would you have made the same decision as the main character? You can actually dig a little deeper into understanding character analysis as it relates to comprehension. Here's another powerful tool. When you take a look at character analysis, here are some different areas of a character to investigate. You can take a look into a character's thoughts, which is the inner workings of the mind, which may or may not be consistent with the character's speech. In fact, you can take a look at the speech, which includes word choice, the manner of speech, their tone, any sarcasm, maybe they are eloquent, maybe it reveals their innocence. Anything here that reveals a character attributes will come out in their speech. You can also take a look at the heart and soul, which are their motives, their desires, and their feelings. It's everything a character wants. The story gets interesting when the character can't act upon their heart and soul for a number of reasons. Maybe it's against their culture or maybe against their moral beliefs. There's some really good insight there. Their hands, it represents action that a character takes. As you know, actions speak louder than words. And finally, the feet. You can take a look at how feet represent a character's movement. It could be a literal or a figurative journey. I have a link on the slide there for all the character features that you can take a look at. So let's do a little character analysis and dig a little into Green Eggs and Ham. Using the same point of climax to do character analysis, here are some conversation starters. You might ask, which character in the story are you most like or unlike, and why? And your child might say, you know, they like Sam. Then you can follow up with, what do you like about the character? And after that, your kids might say, well, he actually never gave up on his friend, the man in the black hat. What were his or her intentions or motivations? Well, Sam wanted his friend to be brave and try new things. For more conversation starters, check out the resource on the link on the slide. All of your child's responses to these questions will reveal points of personal connection for you. Remember how I said the theme for today was to make connections through conversations? You can use conversation to help your child connect to the story, and you can use conversation for you, the parent, to connect with your child. As your child is giving their personal responses to character analysis, use the opportunity to affirm and validate your child. You can say things like this: I'm glad you make wise decisions. Or, you're brave for trying new things too. Now, can I get you to try that broccoli? Just like the character in the story, I'm glad you're a good friend. And these are all really good character attributes to bring out in your child. So friends, I've given you a lot of ideas here. Let's share so we can learn from each other. Please write in the chat, what is one new thing that you've learned? What is a new idea that you can try? Or maybe even, what question do you still have?
So Jamie, have you had any conversations like this with your kids recently? Are they reading anything right now?
Right now, they're reading Jean Yang's, I think it's called Dragon Hoops. It's about basketball. It's a graphic novel. It's really interesting. Check it out.
Yeah, with you know, my sons are older, 8th grade and 11th grade. And with my 11th grader, the opportunity we had to talk about something he read was primary sources. So, which is difficult. Sometimes comprehension is really difficult. And so we worked together through some of those recently.
Yeah.
And so now I see things coming into the chat, and Debbie is saying, use those questions through reading. Zara says, I think I should read some of the books that they are reading. I recommend Kobe Bryant books for basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually do have a really good resource for parents that I'm going to put in the chat. And it is Common Sense Media. So if you've never checked out their site, they have some really great resources for parents. They have the latest research when it comes to using like digital media and technology. But the link that I put in the chat is book reviews. So they've reviewed a lot of children's books. So if you know your child is reading a book, you can get at least like a brief synopsis of what's going on. And they even give you maybe some questions to open up some discussion about those particular books that they have there. So that's a great resource. And let me see, what else are we seeing? So Sue says, does this apply to lower grade levels too, that all stories have a journey?
Not all stories have a journey. If you think about the really, really young readers, like the ones about the puppies or something like that, a lot of those lower level readers have to do with repetition, so that students, the young kids, can really understand, you know, subject, verb, and the predicate, on the action, and they start to understand how sentences are formed. But if you start reading picture books, a lot of the picture books then will have that same stages of plot.
And even with the simple books, just trying to find questions to ask is good, just to generate conversation and build language in general.
Ooh, I have one strategy here. So Sada says, I'm drawing a pic and asking open-ended questions to my toddler. She is using her imagination and telling me what happens next. These days, her vocabulary is becoming quite strong.
That's awesome. Yeah, all these conversations and discussions really help open up their vocabulary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people are asking about translation for because you're sharing so many great strategies. So am I correct in saying that translation is in the works, right?
It is in the works.
So
yeah, thank you for asking.
I put the link to your parent engagement page. So we're working on, once we do get those translations, we're gonna stick them on the SCCOE parent engagement page.
Okay, thank you everyone. We are going to continue moving on. Okay, all right. We are on slide 21. Go for it, Olivia. So if that has inspired you to watch another movie or to rewatch an old favorite, I highly encourage you to use movies with the hero's journey theme to enhance reading comprehension with your kids. The hero's journey is a really good comprehension tool for older elementary to middle school, maybe even up to high school, because the details get more intricate. Let me show you what they are. It has 4 main stages. And you can see that the stages of plot have a lot in common. However, the hero's journey is taught in terms of a cycle. So teachers normally use a circle to help illustrate the classic story structure. Let's take a look at these 4 stages of the hero's journey. Stage 1, the hero's journey starts off in the regular world in which he or she is an unlikely hero or heroine, and they receive a sudden and unexpected journey. The hero is usually reluctant and has no choice but to go on the adventure in an unknown realm. Stage 2. Along the way, the hero's mental or physical strength and stamina are tested through obstacles and other challenges. The hero or heroine receives help from mentors. Stage 3. After an ultimate battle in which the hero is triumphant, they experience a change or some sort of transformation. This transformation could be physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual. And finally, stage 4, the hero or heroine returns home with a gift or treasure that benefits himself or herself and humanity. For a handout with the full descriptions of each stage, click on the link on this slide. And I see a question here. All these slides will be available to you. We'll email it to you when this is over. So why use Hero's Journey? The Hero's Journey is high interest and covers a wide range of stories, including myths, legends, films, novels, short stories, plays, the ever popular graphic novel these days, and comic books. The Hero's Journey is also highly relatable. We can model understanding and empathy for one another at each stage. We can help make connections for our children by showing them that our lives also resemble the hero's journey. I'll show you some conversation starters to break the ice and talk about the heroes in the story. Or you can use these conversation starters to connect with your child about their own personal experience. So let's take a closer look at some ways we can make a connection with conversation with help from a very familiar superhero, Spider-Man. All right, first, the separation. Not that I would want anyone to get bitten by a radioactive spider, but everyone experiences a change in their normal world from time to time. I mean, for one, we have all experienced a drastic change in our normal lives due to COVID-19. Another common life experience for kids might include changing to a new school, making new friends. Any of those changes would apply. When you see that they might be able to identify with the separation, try asking them, what are 3 positive and negative emotions that you feel? What were some significant challenges you had in the past, and how will those help you now? The departure. Talk about challenges the hero is facing, or similarly, talk about the challenges your child is facing. So a question you could explore might be, what are 2 or 3 challenges or obstacles that prevent me from reaching my goals? On a positive note, ask which friends or mentors are supporting them. Like, who are my friends or mentors? And what character traits do I admire in those individuals? Remind your children that you are always there for them no matter what. You support them. You could be their mentor and their friend. Stage 3, the transformation. At one point or another, things are going to change for the better. Help your child identify this stage in the story or in their own life. You can be asking them to process, how will I know when I'm on the right track? What have I gained and learned from going through this experience? And finally, stage 4, the return. How can I use my newfound gift, some personal power or some perspective, to help myself and others? So I've talked a lot here and presented some concrete suggestions for supporting reading comprehension by making connections through conversation. I'd love to know what you're thinking. Please write in the chat, how do you see these suggestions working for your family? And what is one suggestion you can try today? I'm also curious, and please be honest with me, what barriers do you see? How might we address these barriers?
So, Jamie, I do have one question. Sue is asking, what changes do we make for nonfiction reading?
Nonfiction reading, that's a really good question. I actually have in session 4 planned on talking about academic content, and I'll have some reading strategies for outlining notes and how to interact with them so it becomes more personal. You'll also see the character analysis as it applies to historical figures. So you'll be seeing some of these applied in different ways. That's a great question. Stay tuned with us for episode 4.
Nice. And then we have another question. My third grader always writes about cars. How can I be able to change that? Even though he starts with something else, concludes with a car journey. What to do?
Oh my goodness. Are you watching the Disney Cars movie? That's great. Just continue using cars as their character. And join us for next week when we talk about supporting your child with writing development. I would love to see you again.
Okay, let's see. Do we have anything else? Oh, she says, sure, will do. She doesn't want to miss it. Okay, here's another one. A barrier I see is for kids with special ed services, sensory needs.
Okay. Oh, that's a great question. With reading comprehension, with special ed services, continue to have conversations. Maybe just try 1 or 2 questions, and when you see that there's some pushback, then maybe just stop for a moment and then continue on another time or a different day when they feel more receptive. There's a lot of different ways that kids can connect with stories, and maybe they can act out with puppets in a story instead so they can relate to the story. That might be another strategy for you. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for all of your comments. I I have another suggestion for you. For more resources, you can go ahead and check out electronic resources online for stories. I know it's hard to come by physical books right now, but they have a lot of ebooks. If you're part of the San Jose Public Library or the Santa Clara County Library networks, please check those out. Also, if you think your children would enjoy a read aloud of a popular book, you can search YouTube for a lot of read aloud options, some read by celebrities even. All right, some closing remarks here. If you would like a copy of the slide deck, I believe Jenna put the link in the chat so you can have access to that right away. But also please access our bit.ly, bit.ly/SCCOE parent2. And alternatively, feel free to email me and I'd be happy to answer your specific questions, jkoo@sccoe.org. And please share this webinar with your friends. Next week, we'll be talking about writing development support. Yeah, next week, Thursday, 1 to 1:30 for 30 minutes. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us. And until next, safe and be well. Bye, everyone.